I saw no status update from what we said last night. No new information on that.
Mark, your offense obviously so predicated on being able to drive and create those driving lanes. What have you seen from Boston's defense that makes that such a challenge for teams to do, given not just their individual defenders, but how they do it together?
Yeah, they're really good, obviously. They're really tough to crack. They get great individual defenders, as you said, really, really disciplined in their schemes, well coached, adaptive. They can switch. They can play a lot of different things. And so there's a reason they're as good as they are. Really good team.
With Josh, the mid-range stuff that he's got going, particularly lately, has really driven up those percentages, almost like 55% in
Yep.
mid-range. Is it a big enough sample size for him to be kind of starting to, I think you talked about like bending the analytics there on the efficiency of those shots?
A lot of it's just the quality. Like not every shot's created equally based on where you take it from. Mid-range is a wide, they're restricted to the three-point line. There's a lot of landscape there. And then the contestedness. And he's been guarded by guards lately, and so he can kind of use his size and physicality to get them off his body, and those end up being really clean looks for him. I thought some of the ones early in the season especially that he was taking from there, when he's trying to take it over size, it becomes a much more difficult shot. And so I think he's really, similar to Dort last year, I think he's understood his shot diet and has stripped away some of the more difficult shots, and that's raised his efficiency.
Mark, now that Shea has had a few games, the New York game kind of feels like a kind of outlier in just the way he maybe handled his injury. I just wondered what the conversation was like that day leading up to him playing.
He just was obviously felt good enough to play, and we felt comfortable enough to have him out there. So it really wasn't more than that.
So was it like him giving a thumbs up, sort of?
I'm not going to get into the how the sausage is made on that, and nor am I involved in every one of those situations. It's more with our medical people.
And I know you mentioned after the Phoenix game that a lot of the handoff stuff that day was more like matchup specific. Obviously, you guys got into a lot of that last night. I just wondered, with Shea out, with Dub out, like, are you liking what you're seeing in terms of maybe the wrinkles you can kind of get into while those guys are off the floor?
Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity. Obviously, we'd prefer to have them out there, as I've always said, but you've got to find opportunity in every circumstance in an NBA season. It's an imperfect season, and this is allowing our team to stretch. It's allowing us to stretch minutes. It's allowing us to see kind of the limits of what our players are capable of. We like what we're seeing there, and we're obviously a playoff team, and when you get to the playoffs, teams are going to game plan for you, and they're going to do everything they can to make you uncomfortable. And part of that is they're going to make guys play roles that they probably haven't had to play in the season. And so to be able to proactively stress test that and understand what works, what doesn't, where we need to improve is great information. So those guys being out is not ideal, but we're learning a ton from these games about the guys that are playing.
And last thing for me, just do you have any memories in this building growing up?
Yes, I used to come here all the time. So I have a ton of memories.
What stands out most? Like, what are you most fond of looking back?
It was just with my family usually. It was with my grandmother, my parents. So, those are formative experiences when you're with the people you love, especially when you look back on it. So my memories here are more personal memories than they are like, Paul Pierce making a shot. And although I saw him do plenty of that too.
Coach, what is it like for you coming back here and having family and friends in the stands? And who do they root for?
They don't get tickets if they don't root for us. That's how it works. But StubHub, it's a couple extra fees, but it's fine. They can save up for it. Yeah, it's surreal. It's there's not many. We're in the grind of the season. There's not many times where you kind of look up and are reminded things to be grateful for. But this is one of them for me. It's a building. I've seen a lot of games here. Watched the team on TV. Grew up in a Celtics family, Celtics fan. So to coach here is special, obviously, for me.
You would go obviously going to be two of the names you mentioned for Coach of the Year. What would that mean to you to win, and what do you kind of see this team go successful, just kind of going up against him a couple times in the last year?
Yeah, he's really good. He's because I grew up here. I know how you guys are. Are you a Boston media? Yeah, I know how you guys are. Because we used to go to Red Sox games and we listen to EEI afterwards, and it's just a bloodbath. And it's just like, Jesus. It's 1 out of 162 games. Relax. Anyways, he's what he's doing in this environment. He's got a Ferrari of a team with high expectations in a city with high expectations, regardless of whether or not the team's a Ferrari. And he just is unflappable and makes the next best decision. They are incredibly well coached on both ends of the floor. He puts you, when you coach against them, you're put in tactical dilemmas, which is part of having really good players. But they leverage that to the fullest. And so it's very uncomfortable playing against them because of their talent and how well constructed they are, but also coaching against him. And I think because of the talent on the team and the experience of the team and where the team is in their cycle, it's been overlooked of how good of a job he's done. But he's one of the best coaches in the league.
Part of what makes him a Ferrari, obviously, is the addition of Porzingis.
Yeah.
How is that added, in your view, on both ends to what Jalen and Jason do?
He's a dynamic fit for them. He's a rim protecting floor spacer, and so the rim is the most efficient part of the floor in terms of shots you can get other than a free throw, but most of the free throws come from attacking the rim. And so for him to be able to create space for them to get there on the offensive end and then defend that spot on the defensive end, we have a guy that has done that for us, and that's changed our team in a lot of ways. And so I think he's changed their team in that way, and he's a matchup problem, and he's as much of a problem defensively as he is on offense.
Mark, sticking with the homecoming theme here, I think shortly after you were hired, you expressed maybe the best part of your journey or coaching is just sharing it. What were some of the lessons shared with you at Leominster, UConn, Holy Cross that you still carry with you today?
I mean, too many to mention, but growing up, in Leominster, we were like, I learned how to compete. I learned how my best friends in my life to this day are guys that I competed with and against. We'd play together on our travel teams, high school, Pop Warner, Little League, all that, and then we would get together on the weekends and compete against each other in any sort of competition we could find or get our hands on. And so that's where I fell in love with competition, and Leominster's a great sports town. I played high school sports there, and passionate people about sports. And so my love for sports and competition and all the relationships that you can, it all started there.
Mark, you were a manager for UConn men's basketball back in the day. Just what are your thoughts on their current run?
Well, I mean, I wish they'd, open up a couple more leads and, be able to really put the wood to people. But it's, unprecedented, crazy what they've been able to accomplish. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a team just roll through the NCAA tournament like this. I mean, what they're doing is pretty unprecedented. And to do it 2 straight years is unprecedented. And then I was with Coach Auriemma. He was there when I was a student there, and for him to be still doing it at that level. I didn't watch the whole game, but I watched the first 5 minutes or 6 minutes of that game the other night, and I was like, they have no shot in this game. I thought they were going to get drubbed, by that team, and then I checked the score the next day, and they ended up winning. I mean, what he's done there is incredible.
Going up against a team like Boston with the best offense in the league, very low turnover. Just What are some of the challenges of causing some disruption throughout the game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's easier said than done, but you got to try to make them uncomfortable, and that's we've been a high turnover defense for much of the year, and usually, like I said all the time, we're not trying to do that. It's not like by design, but we are trying to make teams uncomfortable and get teams to play away from their strengths. And the better the team, the higher the talent, the better the coaching. As I mentioned, the harder it is to do that. This is the hardest team to do it against, obviously, this year in the NBA. They've proven that. And so it's a tall task, but we want to have as many great possessions as we can tonight on both ends of the floor and stack those up and see where that lands us.